Hey guys, we're here again. It's September. The last video we did was June updates and now it's September. Man, how the time flies when you're having fun.
No, we're not.
We had so many crazy things happen from June until now, September. I think today is September, what's today? September 5th, September 6th, September 10th. Time is flying by, really. This year's almost over. It's almost 2022. I can't believe where the time has gone. So what we're gonna do in this video is try to explain some stories that we remember over the past couple months. The next video, we're gonna explain something amazing that happened. My family got to come to Brazil. It was amazing. You guys can see some of those updates on the next video, but today we're gonna do our best to share some memories, and they will forever be memories. I mean, it's so crazy, all the things that happened, like perfect storm, right? So first off, the last video we did, you guys can see a little piece of that. We said we had some good news for you. And so the good news that we have is that we started to work with a church in Alphaville, where we used to live, that area. And now Marcelle and I are acting as the youth pastors. It's not really youth, we say jovens in Portuguese, but actually what does that mean? Like youth. So it's not really youth, they're all 18 and up, so it's kind of like young adults, but they don't know if you have a word for that.
Yeah, it's young adults.
Young adults. So we started working with them. We meet every single week on Tuesday. Marcelle and I bring a word, English, Portuguese, and we get to minister to those people. This church is new. It's called 80 Logos, and it's 6 months old. And so it was 6 months old. Now it's like 9 months old. But they didn't have a building. They were only meeting in the conference room of a hotel. And so that's how we met them. You guys saw a clip of that on our last video. Marcelle did not translate because she was feeling sick. And so we joined with this church, and it's really, really cool. Actually, during this process of the last couple months, they found a building, and it's a really cool story because they are not just renting a building, they're sharing a building with another church. And Marcelle and I were talking about this. This never happens. Like, I don't hear this very often of churches joining together, usually of different denominations, of different names. They're usually competing, right? But these two churches came together in unity, saying, you guys can have the church on Sunday mornings, Tuesday, Thursday nights, and we'll take it on Wednesday and Sunday night. Like, it's so cool that we're able to take part in this. And the maturity of these pastors, that the goal is to reach people truly. It's not about my church is better, we have more people coming, and all of these things. It's really, really cool. Some other things. With this opportunity, one of the pastors of the church said, hey, if you guys are looking to move closer to the city, I have this house that I'm not using. It's like a second house that you guys can live at. And we're like, that's it. If you guys remember on the last video, Marcelle was feeling that God was giving her this impression that we were going to move closer to the city, and he had a house prepared for us. We're like checking our bank accounts, like, no way, that's not possible. How are we going to do this? Where are we going to live? All these things. And the pastor's like, you can live there for free. And we're like, wow, this is amazing. This is a call from God. This is exactly what we're looking for. And we moved, just in a move, because we saw this as an answered prayer, right? Yeah. And so we moved our... It worked. We moved our washing machine, our refrigerator, our dog, basically everything we had. We moved it. And then we realized this is not as close as we thought it was to the city. It was about 40 minutes from where the church was and where we were working. And actually the farm is only an hour and 20. And so for us, it wasn't that much of a difference to live at the farm. We love the farm. Look, it's beautiful. It's amazing. We had so many stories. That's why we started these videos, is because our life on the farm inspired that. And so we kind of took a step back. We're like, maybe we shouldn't live here in Monticue. And as all that things were happening, things started happening.
I think it was like a start of moving, you know, like God put in our hearts about that, you know, and he also used another pastor that we figure out that he lost his job. So he was doing that with good heart, him and his family, and they opened that house for us to live there as much as we wanted. And then we lived there for 1 month, 2 months, and then we saw that it was a little far, and some things were not working.
Mhm.
And then we needed to think about something like, okay, God gave us this step, this idea, and He used people from this new church. So in this moment, we also saw God using the people from the church and using us to bring teachings to this new church. So this was a very good step for the church, I believe.
Thanks for saying that. I'm so glad I have a wife because I was not thinking about that part, but that
Yeah,
happened.
but we talked about it.
We did.
And the pastors talked about it, that God was really bringing good teaching for the church, for
So
the new
cool.
church.
And we really felt like a family in that time. The church was letting us live at this place. We were working with the church, and we really felt like we were a part of this church, like we were looking for. We were praying for a place to feel at home, a church where we can be fed as well. And it was a really cool thing. As this was happening, we started looking for places closer to the city. And you guys saw us living at Nelson's house, the last house we were at, recording our video. It was amazing. It's a beautiful place to live, but he was just letting us stay there during these difficulties when things were happening. And so we found a house in a place called Itapevi. And if you remember about our house in Katapukawiba, some videos we showed you, these are houses on top of each other. At first look, it's like, yes, it's not beautiful, but it's a house, you know, it's a place to live. Millions of people live in this way. And so we went with that mentality. We paid for the first month's rent, moved all of our things again, thankfully, and we moved in. And 2 weeks later, we realized some things, and it's not as safe as we thought. Is she would come down and be like, yeah, this is not safe. And I'm like, Marcy, don't worry, everything's okay. And then a police raid would happen on the street, right? And it's like, maybe it's not as safe as I tried to tell myself. And so we continued to look again, third time the move of this couple months, crazy. And we found an apartment. By the grace of God, within, I think, Monday, we contacted the renter. On Friday, we moved in and signed the contract, and it was done. And it's definitely a place where we're close to everything.
The thing is not about just the place, the apartment and close. It's also about the documents that we need. I need some documents here in São Paulo as a citizen, and to be able to vote and all this stuff, and get other documents. And Dallas needs a bunch of documents as an American in Brazil. So this city, Barueri, it offers help for us, which the other cities would not be able to do that. And so we knew that we would need an address, and also other reasons that we're going to tell you in the future.
In the future, we'll tell you. We'll fill you in on what's going on.
We need a place, an extra place for these occasions. We don't know until when we're going to live there. Also, part-time, right? I'm telling you already. But we are at a farm. If you guys noticed, we are at a farm. But we are living here part-time and living in this apartment part-time. In São Paulo city, it's overpopulated city, and it's and the apartment is a little different to live. And in these houses, we were so used to the birds and to the forest here and the animals. And there, it's like bam, 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 someone punching on the ceiling of our house, which is the floor of their house, at 2 a.m. and we're trying to sleep.
Not just 2 a.m., like
3,
all
4,
the time.
yes, all the time.
So
And
it's a little transition.
it's difficult, it's different. So we love to come to the farm and have some rest and have some great time with God, because here we just can relax and we can walk around, and there it's not that we really can walk around, you know, it's different, and we feel just relaxed here.
How are we feeling? I'm glad you asked. We'll fill you in. So, Marcelle just said those amazing things, and I felt that the last couple months since June have been crazy for us. Crazy. I forgot I even spoke some Portuguese because we've been so consumed with things happening that one day I was just like, oh, desculpa, eu falo português, Marcelle. Nós fala português. And so that day I spoke a little more Portuguese, but there's things that are just happening that we feel like we're experiencing trials. And on Tuesday, we're preaching at our church, and we're continuing to preach. I'll address that in a second about ministry and things. But on Tuesday, this week, we're preaching, Marcelle and I, at our church. Every second Tuesday of the month is the youth service. And so the youth do the worship, the youth do the preaching and things like this. And so the message that we're bringing is about trials. And the title of my message is God, I'm serving you, or but I'm serving God. And what do we do when trials happen? And so basically the story is about Acts chapter 16, when Paul and Silas, I might say Silas sometimes because that's how you say it in Portuguese. And we have friends that are named Silas. Anyways, in this story with Paul and Silas, they cast out a demon out of a slave girl that people were using as a fortune teller. All this is happening, and they get upset, send Paul and Silas to prison, and they're in prison and they're worshiping God at midnight. And an earthquake happens, and then their chains are broken off, the prison doors are open, and they can escape. But they didn't. They stayed, and they ministered to the jailer. And the jailer, in that situation, he's going to kill himself because that's the penalty if the slaves get away during that time, if the prisoners get away. And he says, what do I do to be saved? And he says, believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved. And in that time, the grace and everything that's going through Paul and Silas, the jailer gives himself to Jesus, his family's baptized, and that's so cool. It's so awesome. And so through that whole story, what we're preaching about is talking that even in your trials, I mean, Paul was serving God. Paul and Silas were doing the will of God, and they went to prison. And there's times in our life where we felt, like definitely in these last couple of months, where we're like, God, we're serving you. We're trying to please you. How can all these crazy things happen? How could you let these things? We didn't tell you all the things that happened, but I mean, electricity's not working. After, again and again and again, electricity. Phone's not working. We lost our phone signal for like a week. Like that's never happened before. What are some other things? Our internet stopped. We had to give classes in the car again. Things like this. Got super sick. Just things like this that kept happening. We're like, God. Like, we're not blaming God, of course. We don't blame God in this. We know that the trials bring perseverance and all of these things. And so that's the message that we're giving to the church on Tuesday is like, have faith. Don't worry. Take joy in the Lord. The joy of the Lord is our strength. Things like this, right? So even if you're serving God and things go wrong, be a testimony in the trial. Because that's exactly what Paul did. He could have escaped prison. I wouldn't have blamed him because an earthquake happened and their chains are falling off. I would be like, cool. God broke us out of this crazy place. And they didn't. They stayed to minister to the jailer. And so be a testimony in your life. Is there anything else you want to share before the next video?
No.
Awesome. So hopefully this gave you a little clarity of what's happening. Ministry, we're still doing ministry. We're still preaching constantly. Yeah. I think we preached last week. We're preaching this Saturday. We're preaching Sunday, preaching Tuesday. Like, we're constantly preaching.
God is bringing it.
Really, really cool. We love preaching so much. You guys maybe have seen some videos of this, but we'll continue to do our best to update you. We have some videos coming out ready to go. We already recorded the next 2 videos. We just have to post them. So, guys, thank you for joining us again. Subscribe if you want to continue to hear content from us. Take care.